Let's make some beef jerky. This is a nice iron round, which we'll use to make our beef jerky. And look, there's almost no fat on this cut, and that's exactly what we're looking for. The least amount of fat on your beef jerky will make a nice beef jerky. So we're going to slice this very thin, and I got my super slicer, which I can finally use. And we're going to slice it thin. Now, if you don't have a really sharp knife, you might want to consider putting this in the freezer first. Freeze it for like an hour or 2 hours and then start slicing it. We're actually slicing it not too thin because we still want the beef to have a lot of grip. Otherwise you get holes in your beef while you're drying it out. If you like your beef jerky less jerky, you can also slice against the grain. But of course we like a little bit of jerk to our beef jerky. And this cut actually still has some marbling in there, which is great for if you eat it like this, if you're going to eat it raw or you're going to eat it just roasted. But for beef jerky we want it as lean as possible. Now we sliced all these pretty thin and they look really good. You can almost see my finger right through it, and that's perfect. But if you got a thicker edge, you might want to whack it with something hard to just flatten it out. And at the same time it will tenderize your meat. Now we get to the part where we start working on a marinade. I have a Ziploc bag here, and this is going to be the easiest part. We want a 1/4 cup of light brown sugar. Put it in your Ziploc bag. So also a 1/4 cup of BBQ Rub. And then a cup of water. Let me quickly mix that up. And you can use any BBQ Rub you like. You can use a beef rub, you can use a sweet rub. And since we already got a sugar in there, we don't need a really sweet rub. I'll put a rub into the video description down below, so you can use that one if you don't have a barbecue rub. And then one by one, drop in the beef strips. Mix it up. This already smells and looks amazing. And now we'll put this in the fridge. So this beef jerky has been marinating for over 24 hours, and the fridge really smells like all these great flavors, and I can't wait to put these in the grill. So I set up the Kamado Joe Big Joe to smoke at around 80 degrees Celsius, which is 175 degrees Fahrenheit. I started a small fire, and I really want this to come up slowly to temperature, because otherwise you're going to have a big overshoot and you will have a hard time getting it down again. I added some apple chips, wood chips. Now let's get to the part where we hang our beef strips. We're gonna hang these on this grate extender. But before we do that, we need to dry them. So I got my paper towel here. Just spread it out. And then we'll place the beef strips on the paper towel. Make sure you spread them out completely so they get a good opportunity to dry. The drier they are, the more likely they are to pick up smoke. And in the end, we want them completely dried. The great thing about having this barbecue rub on these beef strips, that you will get a lot of texture out of the rub that is still on there. So try and leave the rub on as much as possible, and at the same time get the fluids off. Now get another paper towel and just press it on to soak up all that moisture. Completely pat them dry. I'll do the same here. When you press it hard, it gets the opportunity to soak up all of that marinade. And then we'll start skewering these things. I like to use 2 of these pins, because if you have a broad piece like this, I think it's a waste to slice it in 2. I like it this way. If you don't like it, if you like smaller strips, then you can of course slice them in half. But I think it looks kind of cool to have these bigger ones. Put these on. So we got this skewered on, and now the trick is to get these in between the grill grates. And you definitely want to leave some room. So let's put these on the barbecue. So we'll check these about every hour to see when they're done. I'm especially watching the temperature to keep it stable at 80 degrees Celsius, 170 degrees Fahrenheit. And the trick here is to keep monitoring it. Of course, if you have one of those temperature controls, it's much easier to do. If you don't have one of those, you just have to check every hour or so. And that's why you also want to start off with a stable grill at a stable temperature. So it's a good thing we check every hour, because it's been around 5 hours now and it's standing up straight. So that's a really good sign for beef jerky that it's done. If your beef jerky is standing up straight like this, you know it's probably done. It feels sturdy, it's still flexible, and it's jerky. You gotta have a little snap. That's definitely some good beef jerky right here. The flavors came out great, and the color as well. It's just that easy. You just put together a little bit of barbecue rub, a little bit of sugar, and some water. Put some beef in it, you're done. It's that easy. But it tastes so good. You guys just gotta give this a try. Real jerky.